What's going on, friends? I hope you're having a great day today. If you've never seen me before, my name's Brent. You can call me that or Brent Michael. I'm a 25-year-old musician, artist, producer, singer, philosopher, and a mystic. If you've never seen me before, I have a very interesting story. I've been through a lot of things, I've overcome a lot of hurdles. I have a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience. This is going to be my first official video where I'm talking. Up until this point, I've simply just made music videos. Another one coming soon, by the way. It sort of started in Illinois. I was born in Illinois, and to sort of recap my early years, I'll probably go into more detail one day about it. But it was pretty rough. I'll say that it was pretty rough. Um, it was okay up until I was about 3. There were some problems, but my parents had split up, and then me and my sisters went into foster care, and we went into many different foster homes. It was a mess. Encountered all kinds of terrible things. And eventually, our dad, with our stepmom at the time, um, ended up adopting us. Some even worse things happened there. And eventually, the stepmom had to move out. And then my dad gave us up. And we ended up going back to our mom again. And then we moved into the city. We lived in the hood for a while. That was a little rough. uh, Then we moved to a trailer park. That was okay. And then we moved to Indiana, lived with our grandparents for a bit. During all of this time, though, there were a lot of things that happened to me and to my siblings that nobody should ever have to go through. All kinds of abuse: physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse. I mean, it's really messed up. And I remember they had stuck me on all kinds of medications. I was a little fucked up, and well, understandably, when you've gone through all of that, you're bound to be at least a little fucked up. And I was put on a lot of different medications, and they zombified me. It was not good for me. It made it to where I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't express myself. I couldn't feel anything, and it was quite a dark time, although I didn't realize it at the time. But eventually, my mom was doing some questionable things, essentially drug trafficking and stuff. And the feds came and kicked in our door, and we were going to go back to foster care again. But my aunt and uncle adopted us, and we moved. We moved to Alabama, and that's sort of where we've lived ever since. I've lived, and my sisters, they go back and forth between different places, but this is where I've been ever since. I do plan on leaving, though. As soon as I'm done with school, I'm moving out of the state. I'm going to make music. I'm going to produce songs for people. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make enough money to be financially free, to travel, to perform, and to help those that I really care about and that deserve it. That's important. But after we moved, I mean, it was okay. I went through high school, and by the way, as a kid, I wanted to be a meteorologist for a long time, which that's like studying the weather. I wanted to be on the TV. I wanted to be a weatherman, right? And I used to be obsessed. It's a funny story. I used to be obsessed with the weather, and I'd watch it every single day obsessively. I'd literally turn on the Weather Channel, and I would just be watching the temperatures roll on down by the hour. It was crazy, man. I don't know why I did it, but eventually, I ended up not liking weather that much, and I started playing trombone. My aunt and uncle bought me my first trombone, and I remember I was a little bit behind. I started a little bit late compared to everyone else, but people started making fun of me because I wasn't very good. I remember this vividly. People would make fun of me. People in my high school class and all kinds of people. They'd make fun of me because I wasn't good. I was behind everybody else. So what I did is I went home and I practiced every single day of that summer for an hour or 2 hours. My aunt and uncle didn't let me play in the house, so I had to I had to go outside, and I remember it was like blistering heat sometimes, and I'd be out there practicing my scales and long tones. Any of my musicians, that's ball knowledge. You know what I'm talking about. And eventually, I got I came back in the fall and I got a lot better. At that point I was honestly, I shocked a lot of people. They were like, "What in the hell is this guy on?" And this, I didn't realize it at the time, but this was my first encounter with one of my abilities, which is to learn things incredibly quickly. I learn things very, very quickly. It's kind of scary, you know. Uh, and a lot of people have said it's very odd, but I take it as a gift from God. God gives everyone their own gifts and abilities, and that was my first one that I unlocked. After I graduated high school, I did honor band, I did high school band, I did indoor winds, marching band, concert band, jazz band. I graduated high school and I moved to Jacksonville, Alabama, and my girlfriend at the time kind of broke my heart and fucked me up. It was really, really messed up. Some of the stuff that happened, and it thrusted me into what they call a dark night of the soul, right? So at this point, this was like the first time in my adult life. Uh, I was sort of semi-independent, living on my own, right? And it was like I was clinging to that relationship, right? I was sort of codependent, and this is one of my issues that I had to overcome. And when that was taken away from me, which, by the way, I want to say I was not perfect. I did some things, I made some mistakes too, but we're all human, right? If I wasn't human, I wouldn't be here, you know. But I had to learn to be comfortable on my own. I really went into a depressive episode for years, and a lot of people gave up on me. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, he's not going to amount to anything. He's failed. It's over for him. That's it." A lot of my friends walked away, never talked to me again. A lot of them started talking about me. That's how it goes. But what they didn't know is I still had the fire of life inside of me. And at this point I had gotten really big. I was like 280 pounds, and I would drink soda and I'd eat pizza and I'd game. And I remember I had smoked herb since I was like 18, but I really got like big into it. I got really big into it, and it became an addiction almost. And at some point, I had to say, okay, I gotta chill out. This is like when I had this awakening. My brother, I didn't really mention this, but my stepmom and my dad, they had a son and a daughter together, and I consider them my siblings as well. Um, my brother had passed away at this time. He was a little bit younger than me, but he took his own life, and this was a major wake up call to me. He said something sort of like, "Okay, look, you cannot go down the same path," because I had always struggled with my mental health ever since I was taken off the medication. My aunt and uncle really helped with that. They helped discipline me too. Shout out to them. Uh, but it really was a struggle for a long time. I really did struggle. And I started reading books, and I started watching YouTube videos online about self improvement and how to overcome mental health problems and to help yourself. And I discovered meditation. And this was incredible. At this point, I think I was 22, so it was like a good few years into this lifestyle. And my buddy Marcus, shout out to him. He uh, he had me come live with him, and that was awesome. He's a real one, dude. He never gave up on me, and when I make it, bro, I will not forget you. Shout out Marcus. Uh, but essentially, I had to chill out, right? I had to stop smoking so much herb. I had to stop eating pizza. I had to stop drinking soda. I had to start going outside and going for walks and going for runs. I remember specifically going for runs. Like, I was still like 240 pounds at this time. I had lost quite a bit of weight by this time. Just fasting. When I learned about fasting, I learned about just control. I was eating less pizza. Specifically pizza. I ate a lot of pizza. And I remember being like 240 pounds and running outside and running down the road, and people are like, "What is this fat ass doing?" But a lot of them respected me for it, and I thanked them for that. But it was a good experience though. It really was a huge shift. Eventually, I got to the point where I was 168 pounds. I got shredded, and this by this time I was already 23. Um, Yeah, I was meditating every single day. I was reading books. I was praying. I remember I really had like a come to God moment, you know, and I started praying, and God gave me strength and gave me the will to go forward. And this is sort of like the big turning point of my life. This is whenever I started to exit the dark night of the soul and start to awaken my consciousness. I didn't know what was happening at the time. I just knew that through prayer and meditation that I had a really strong connection to God and to the divine. And it was a great thing. I ended up at this point moving back to Jacksonville because, like I said, when I was 19, I moved to Jacksonville. When my dark night of the soul happened, I had to move back home. My mom got into some more trouble, and I couldn't stay there. So that's when Marcus was like, "Hey, bro, we got an extra room. Come stay with us." And he was really cool about it. We ended up working together for a long time. I even go visit all the time. He's a good friend of mine. Um, Real one. He's a real one for real. I mean that. And once I had moved back, at this time, I had joined the marching band in the college again. And this is kind of a touchy subject, but I had gotten another girl at the time, and we were spending a lot of time together. We really enjoyed each other's company. Now there were women that I had seen between this, but these are like the main ones, right? There were like there was one in high school as well before my first girlfriend when I was 18/19. But that was like my first like actual relationship where it went a little bit further than just a little smooch on the smooch or kiss on the lips. You know what I mean? Went a little bit further than that. You know what I'm talking about. And yeah, during my dark night there was one as well, but I don't like to talk about that. That was kind of it was mid. It was just kind of mid. It wasn't for me. But she ended up leaving and had another one. Had another. It was like a mini Dark Night of the Soul. It wasn't as bad as the first one. I did gain a little bit of weight. I gained like 20 pounds. So I was about 200 at this time. It's not bad, bro. And I remember at this time I was awakening a lot. I was forced to be alone again, right? I was forced to be alone again and sit with my own thoughts. So, like always, I was still meditating, right? And it was revealed to me that, well, I didn't want to be a band director. That's why I was at college, is to be a band director. And that's not good for me. That's not what I would do well at. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I switched to business. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to open my own business. I'm going to make a lot of money, maybe even work in finance or sales. And I kind of had a good idea that I was going to do that for a long time. And what I didn't know, and I recently had this revelation, is that is a trap. It's a spiritual trap because it disconnects you from God and it disconnects you from your path and the spirit. Because the corporate world we all know, is a miserable place. Many, many, many such cases saying they feel dead inside. They feel like they're a robot. They feel like they're a number. And there's a reason for that. It's because that's the sort of energy that it pulls on, is that sort of Saturnian energy. It's quite evil, I would say. I mean, Saturn is, complicated subject. I can do a video on that later down the line, but but it's like control, restriction, limitations, but also power, right? And uh, I'm going to move on past that. I actually ended up being initiated into the Brotherhood of Freemasonry, and I met a lot of great guys. And I had a mentor at this time. He's a great man. He's taught me a lot. I really do appreciate everything he's done for me. I remember we'd go hiking and camping all the time. I'm not really into it like I was when I first met him. That's okay. I think he knows. But it was. I learned a lot. I haven't really gone over this, but I had this problem with anger around this time. I was very angry at the world. I was very angry. I said everything that happened to me, all the abuse, all of the being put on pills, when I really didn't need them, and it fucked me up for years. This dark night of the soul. Why do I keep getting my heart broke? I was just angry. I was so angry at everything, and he helped me chill out. He helped me develop my mercy, and I was able to treat people better. I was able to look at things from others' point of view. It expanded my consciousness and allowed me to feel the connection of spirit in everything and everyone. And yeah, I'm eternally grateful for that. It was a great experience. A little bit after this is like 2024. Let's say I started going to church again, to a Baptist church, and those are great people. I love those people, but I just have my own opinions, on Jesus the Christ, and I have my own opinion on the Holy Scriptures and what they mean. And I've done my historical, philosophical, and theological research on it. And I've come to the conclusion that the Scriptures are a lot deeper than people portray them to be, than have been told to us. And I believe that the Bible, largely as a whole, is inspired scripture, but the philosophical context is missing on a surface level. People need to understand what they're reading. And a lot of it is written in peculiar ways. It's not straightforward. You need to have a great understanding of the people that wrote it, who they wrote it to, why it was written, and in what form it was written. And when you understand that, the real meanings, along with fasting and prayer, and meditation, the real meanings will come to you, and you will understand the spiritual gold that is in them. But I ended up leaving the church eventually. They're great people, nothing against them. I just went my own way. I believe my own thing, and that's okay. I don't think that I'm going to end up in any place different than where they will. So I have my daily prayer, my daily meditation. I'm very connected to God. So, but beyond that, in early 2025, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. At this time in 2024, so probably around summer of 2024, I ended up buying FL Studio, and I started producing tracks and producing, like, beats. And I wasn't very good at it at first, of course, but I was a musician of 10 years. And at this point, I was a vocalist, I was an instrumentalist. And like I said, I learned things very, very quickly. And from 2024 to the beginning of 2025, I spent probably 50 hours just learning, watching videos, reading resources, practicing, learning to compose beats and tracks. And I started making my own tracks and making my own music. And I remember one of my other friends at the time, named Dennis Walker. He was a good man. We just lost him in February. Rest in peace, Dennis. Um, he inspired me to start making music. He was an Elvis impersonator. He was on TV nearly 70 times. Um, he was a good man. He wasn't a Mason. He was a good man, though. But he inspired me to start making music. He told me he used to record songs and they were on the radio, and that really inspired me. And my first song I ever made was with him, and I have it released. It's called "The Sublime Song." Uh, Great song. Of course, it's not going to be, as good of quality as some of my later stuff and even the stuff I'm making now. But for what it was, it's my favorite song, really, because I made it with him. I mean that. But we lost Dennis. Rest in peace, Dennis. Uh, started making songs, started making content online about the summer of 2025. I released my first project, but I honestly did it a little bit too soon. Maybe I didn't know enough, or maybe it was just at the right time. And, my perspective on it isn't accurate. But for what it was beautiful. And I had like over 2,000 streams on it, which was crazy. I was like, holy crap. I was super thankful. But I stayed tapped in during this time. I'm still tapped in. I'm always tapped in. And I started further exploring my own understandings of the universe and of God and of myself and of the world and how it works. And I gained a lot of knowledge about specifically how the mind works and how the spirit works and how you can work in tandem with God and with creativity. Creativity is a gift. It's not something that you do. It's something that you are, right? It's like saying I am creative, right? Um, I mean, that's the best way I could break it down. I could do like a video on that. I mean, that's a good idea. I'll do a video on that at some point. But this was a big time in my life. Actually, before Dennis passed, him and my mentor um, and friend of mine, we would always go out to karaoke, and I had this huge fear of being seen, this huge fear of getting up in front of people and singing or talking or playing my instrument. I remember I'd always choke up, but it was about probably for about a mid 2024 is when we started going to karaoke. I started singing in front of people, and turns out I have a beautiful voice. I had always kind of known that, and like I'd sing to some of my girlfriends, and they would tell me that I had a great voice. And I never believed them. I thought they were just sweet talking me because that's what some women do. Cranberry juice, by the way. Not on no Epstein type beat. That's cranberry juice. But yeah, I eventually, after getting in front of people dozens and dozens and dozens, and at this time, probably a few hundred times, I eventually got used to performing in front of people, and I realized that I really loved it. I really, really loved it. And at this time, by the time I realized I loved it, I was already making music. And that's actually part of what inspired me to start making content, is to get that out there to the world and share my message. I've overcome a lot. I have literally alchemized myself into a completely different person. If you knew me even 5, 6 years ago, you do not know me. I'm a completely different person. I have literally ascended into a completely different essence. I'm more authentic with myself. I found myself. That's really what it is. God helped me with that. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. There's a lot more that I could go into, but I think for my first video, that's a good one. Thank you. Have a great day. God bless.